Hey everyone, my name is Jasmine and today I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to have a more sustainable lifestyle, and I'm going to be focusing on mindset hacks on sustainable living for beginners. But before I share my tips, I really wanted to get into why sustainable living is important and why I'm sharing this now. So what exactly is sustainability?
Hold on, I'm gonna answer it in 1 second.
Okay, so sustainability means meeting our present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Oh my god, I memorized that so well. So it's normally associated with just environmentalism, but it actually has two more parts to it, which is social responsibility and economic development. So the three of these, environmentalism, social responsibility, and economic development, are all interconnected in a way that they all directly impact the quality of our lives. Our current system heavily relies on a capitalist economy, even though that directly violates all the boundaries of the three components of sustainability. Like, for example, fossil fuels causing climate change, the depletion of nutrients in our soil caused by the farming practices that we have now, and also it heavily contributes to social inequality. We feel that even more during a pandemic because now some people will get the care that they need and some won't. Some people still go to work. Some people can live their lives as if nothing's happening. And also really important to note, people who have underlying health conditions experience more severe symptoms of the virus. And if you think about it, the environment that we live in directly impacts our health. So the air quality, the water quality, the food that we eat. In short, if these systems are working against the three components of sustainability, then we take a toll on ourselves physically and mentally. So that means that our healthcare system is actually directly impacted by all these things, and it makes it even harder for us to deal with a crisis like a pandemic. So I think that it's a really good first step to have an insight on why sustainable living is important and how to have a more sustainable lifestyle, beginning with our mindset so that we can be more intentional with our decisions, knowing that it directly impacts us, our loved ones, and our communities. Well, I feel like this video is a little too serious and it's like not me, but I feel like this all needs to be said, so please bear with me. So my first tip is actually just evaluating where you are currently in life so that you can decide what areas you can change, or just like decide what small steps you can take to move towards a more sustainable lifestyle. So the most important thing to keep in mind is that it has to be sustainable for the planet, but it also has to be sustainable for you. So sustainability will look different on everyone because we all have our different areas that we want to work on, and it doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all. For example, I really love traveling, and at the same time it exposed me to the negative effects of tourism. So I found ways to travel more sustainably,
like staying in local Airbnbs, eating in local restaurants as opposed to chain restaurants, because I know that that has more carbon and water footprint than local ones. Also packing light. I always just travel with a backpack because I know that the heavier you are, the more fuel that the plane burns.
Also using public transportation. I also do that at home because it just burns less fuel, and also I can't really drive. So. But yeah, if you like food, maybe you could start looking into eating more locally and seasonally. That way it doesn't travel, that way the food doesn't travel that far. You could also start growing your own herbs or something like that. I actually have a friend who started an online course on how to do that. So if you want to check her out, I'll put it right here. Also, if you love fashion, maybe you could start looking into brands that are more environmentally conscious, or maybe you could start thrifting and get creative with that. So the most important first step is actually just to be more intentional of the different areas in our life so that we can know what we can change and what habits we want to build towards a more sustainable lifestyle, and then we could just go from there. My next tip is actually pretty practical and easy once you start to get into the habit, and it's thinking about the before life and the afterlife of a product. So the before life of a product basically just refers to how it's made, where it's made, who made it, are they being paid fairly, what kind of energy is used to make the product, how much water and carbon footprint did it take to create this product. And the best place to start is looking into B Corps. So basically B Corp is a certification that brands have to tell consumers that they have the highest standards of all three components of sustainability. The B Corp community works towards reduced inequality, lower levels of poverty, a healthier environment.
I have a sore throat, so it's kind of hard for me to talk right now.
A healthier environment, stronger communities, and the creation of more high-quality jobs with dignity and purpose. So I just want to show what a B Corp certification looks like. It's a logo with a small B and a circle around it. It's a certified B Corporation. And it's also in this sanitizer. It is normally beside a few other certifications, and it's pretty small, so it's kind of hard to see, but just so you know, it looks like this. So this is something that we actually have a say in and we can control. So we have a choice on what companies we want to support, where we want to put our money in, and we should definitely take advantage of that. And then the afterlife of a product is basically where it's going to go after we use it for what we bought it for. Just stopping to think before you buy a product. Okay, where is this going to go after you use it? Is it going to go to the landfill, or can I recycle it, or can I give it to someone else? Find another use for it instead of throwing it right away. But also, buying something brand new should be your last resort, because there's so many things that you can do before you actually buy something brand new. But if you do need to buy, then these are really good things to think about. However, I'm going to leave this really nice graphic. It's called the hierarchy of needs, and I really love it because it just makes you stop and think about whether you actually need to about whether you actually need to buy or not. But that also leads me to my next tip. So my next tip is becoming more minimalist. The mindset that I want to point out with being a minimalist is...
What is the mindset that I want to point out?
So minimalism has really taught me to get rid of all the noise and pare down on my thoughts that don't serve me, things that don't give me value, and focus on what's important, focus on my goals and things that I can do today and now. And I think that being in quarantine, we don't have a choice really, because we're stripped of all the things that we used to have. So I think that it's really important to be grateful for those things, but also acknowledge that we don't actually need them to live. So if you are healthy and alive, that's an intrinsic value that you could be focusing on. And also with the relationships that we have, we used to socialize and see our friends and our family, but it's also enough to just listen to them and talk to them and know that they're there for you and you're there for them. So it's just focusing on things like that. Another thing that I learned from minimalism is to create more than you consume. And I also find that creating stuff, even if it's just baking something or cooking something or sketching something, it really relaxes us. It forces us to live in the moment pretty much. And I think that focusing on things like that would really be more sustainable for our mind and for the environment, because it does spill on to physical things. If you have that minimalist mindset, it does spill on to you wanting less to be happy. So then you buy less stuff and you just find happiness in what you have. One practical tip that I have to be more minimalist is to focus on reusable items. So you can just use up whatever you have. Like if you have Ziplocs, use it up. It's not a big deal. But then if you want to buy more next time, you could buy beeswax wraps or beeswax bags instead, because they're reusable for a year or two. But like I said before, it's always better to avoid buying brand new, because no matter how green a company is or how sustainable they are, it still has water and carbon footprint, and that's something you can't really get rid of. But yeah, it's always better to check what you have at home and repurpose it or DIY something. I actually made a DIY video on how to make your own toothpaste at home, so check that out. It only has 4 ingredients. Why am I? That's 8. So these are all the tips that I have on. Wow, I'm really scratching my armpit. Sorry. So these are all the tips that I have on how to have a more sustainable lifestyle, and I didn't want it to be too overwhelming, so I figured that mindset hacks would be a good place to start, especially on sustainable living for beginners. And I hope that you guys are feeling okay, finding your groove. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. Message me on Instagram, and happy Friday!